The alarm klaxon screamed through the metal corridors of the colony ship Perseverance, like the death cry of some massive beast. Red emergency lights strobed in frantic patterns, painting everything in shades of blood and shadow. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood frozen on the bridge, her knuckles bone-white as she gripped the command chair. Around her, 40,000 souls had just realized they were going to die in the infinite cold of deep space. "Status report," she managed, though her voice felt like it belonged to someone else. Lieutenant Chen's hands trembled over his console. "Main engine completely dead, Captain. Backup fusion core failed 37 minutes ago. Life support is..." He swallowed hard. "We're bleeding oxygen, 6 hours, maybe 5 if we're unlucky." 5 hours. Rodriguez looked at the internal monitors displaying the ship's passenger sections. Through dozens of camera feeds, she watched her world collapse. Families pressed together in cramped quarters. A mother singing softly to her daughter. An old man sitting alone, hands folded, lips moving in silent prayer. Children who would never see the colony world they dreamed about for 3 years of cryo-sleep. They had chosen this route to save time. The outer void, the dead space between spiral arms where no one traveled. It would cut 4 weeks off their journey to New Terra. She had made that call, her decision, her responsibility. "Send the distress signal again," she ordered, knowing it was meaningless. "Captain," Chen's voice broke, "we're too far out. Even if someone hears us, they can't possibly reach us before..." "Send it." The bridge door hissed open. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked in with the kind of calm that only came from absolute acceptance. She was supposed to be humanity's voice on New Terra, establishing Earth's first major colony beyond the core systems. Instead, she would die here with everyone else. "Captain," she said quietly, moving to stand beside Rodriguez, "you did everything right. This was a mechanical failure, not a command failure. Tell that to the families. They don't blame you. I've been walking the corridors. People are scared, but they're not angry. They know you tried everything." Rodriguez's hands tightened on the chair. Outside the viewports, stars shone with cruel indifference. Beautiful, eternal, uncaring. "Captain!" Everyone on the bridge spun toward Lieutenant Peters at communications. The young officer was staring at his console like it had just spoken prophecy. "What is it?" Rodriguez's heart hammered. "Response to our distress call. I'm getting a response." The bridge went silent except for the soft beeping of instruments and the distant wail of alarms. "From who? How far?" Peters checked, then rechecked his readings. "They identify as Kelrath traders. They're..." His voice caught. "They're 4 hours away, Captain. They heard our first signal and have been burning toward us at maximum velocity." 4 hours, they had 5 hours of air. "Tell them we have 40,000 people aboard," Rodriguez said, her mind racing through impossible logistics. "Tell them we need..." "Captain, they already know. They've scanned us, and they're saying..." Peters looked up, confusion and hope warring on his face. "They're saying they can take everyone." Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "That's impossible. 40,000 people need life support, space, food, water. No trader vessel could..." The response came through, translated into English by the ship's computer. The voice was clicking, insectoid, alien in every way. But the words were clear. "We are dumping cargo, all cargo, converting holds to emergency shelters. Crowded, yes. Uncomfortable, yes. But all survive. This is acceptable." Rodriguez felt the world tilt. "Your cargo? That's your entire livelihood, your business, everything you own." There was a pause, then, "Life is worth more than profit. We will not permit death when we can prevent it. This is the Kelrath way. We come fast. You hold on." Through the main viewports, Rodriguez watched the impossible become real. 5 ships emerged from the darkness, their hulls painted in swirling patterns of color that seemed to shift in the starlight. They weren't sleek like human vessels. These were working ships, scarred and practical, built for hauling cargo across the vast distances between stars. And they were throwing everything away. She watched through the external cameras as the Kelrath crews opened their cargo bays. Containers tumbled into space, spinning slowly in the void. Crates of rare minerals from the inner systems. Technology components worth millions. exotic foods that took years to cultivate, artwork from a dozen worlds. All of it just discarded, cast into the darkness like it meant nothing. "How much are they losing?" Chen whispered beside her. "Tens of millions of credits," Rodriguez breathed. "Maybe hundreds of millions. That's an entire fleet's worth of cargo. Some of those containers probably represent years of trading, rare acquisitions." Her throat tightened. "They're destroying their lives to save ours." The lead Kelrath vessel, massive and imposing, maneuvered alongside the Perseverance with surprising grace. Rodriguez could see the name painted on its hull in both Kelrath symbols, "An English merchant's honor, all hands," she announced over the ship-wide comm. "Prepare for evacuation. Stay calm, stay organized. The Kelrath are here to help us." The rescue took 3.5 hours. Every minute felt like an eternity. Rodriguez watched as families streamed through the airlocks into the Kelrath vessels. The aliens themselves worked tirelessly, guiding humans through the converted cargo holds with what could only be described as gentleness. They were tall, their bodies covered in chitinous plates that shimmered with blues and greens under the lights. Their large compound eyes reflected the frightened faces of human children in thousands of facets. Their mandibles clicked and clattered in what the translators said were reassuring words. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, stopped in front of a Kelrath crew member. The alien towered over her, easily 9 feet tall, looking like something from Earth's ancient nightmares. But the girl reached out and touched one of his lower arms. "Thank you for saving us," she said. The Kelrath knelt down, bringing his massive head level with hers. His mandibles moved in complex patterns. The translator rendered it simply. "It is what anyone should do, small one. You are safe now." Rodriguez felt something break inside her chest. She was among the last to leave the Perseverance. As the ship's captain, it was her duty to be the final one off a dying vessel. The Kelrath seemed to understand this, waiting patiently. Captain Thekna met her in the cargo hold of the Merchant's Honor. The space smelled strange to Rodriguez, a mix of spices and something metallic she couldn't identify. But it was warm, the air was good, and it was full of humanity. People sat on every available surface. Families were reunited, children laughing with relief. Some were crying, others sat in quiet shock. But they were alive, all 40,000 of them. "Alive," Captain Thekna Rodriguez said formally, fighting to keep her voice steady. "On behalf of humanity and the United Earth Government, I thank you. You have saved 40,000 lives today. We owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid." Thekna waved his upper appendages in what the translator interpreted as dismissal. "We seek no debt. We seek no payment. You needed help. We could provide it. This is sufficient reason. But your cargo will be replaced." Eventually, through work and time, his compound eyes seemed to focus on her with unsettling intensity. "But these lives, these cannot be replaced. Each one unique, each one valuable." The choice was simple. Ambassador Chen appeared at Rodriguez's side. She looked at the Kelrath captain for a long moment, then spoke with the weight of her full diplomatic authority. "Captain Thekna, you say you seek no debt, but humanity does not forget kindness. We will remember what you did here today, and I promise you, on my honor as Earth's representative, if your people ever need us, if the Kelrath ever face danger or disaster, humanity will come." She paused and something fierce entered her voice. "And when we come, we will come with everything we have." Thekna tilted his head in what might have been curiosity. "This is not necessary." "It is necessary," Chen said quietly, "because this is the human way. We pay our debts, always." 23 years later, the distress call from Kelrath Prime screamed across subspace channels, reaching Earth in a matter of hours. The message was simple and desperate. The Vrex swarm, an all-consuming hive species, had entered Kelrath space. Their homeworld had days, maybe weeks before it fell. In the halls of Earth's United Government, ancient recordings were pulled from archives. A woman who was now Secretary of Defense stood before the assembled leaders and played them. "Life is worth more than profit," the old recording said. We will not permit death when we can prevent it. Ambassador Sarah Chen, now 73 years old and head of the Xeno-Diplomacy Council, looked at the gathered representatives of humanity. Her voice carried the weight of decades. They saved 40,000 of us when they had no reason to. They lost everything to give us a chance. She straightened, and her eyes were steel. Now they need us, and we will answer. Madam Chen, a council member said hesitantly, the Vreks are powerful. Sending a fleet to Kelrath space could expose Earth to... We're not sending a fleet, Chen interrupted. She looked at each of them in turn. We're sending everything, every ship, every weapon, every soldier who can fire a rifle, and every pilot who can fly a fighter. We're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity's friends. There was a moment of silence. Then, one by one, every representative stood and voted yes. The Kelrath would later call it the day the sky turned to thunder. 300 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel above their homeworld. Carriers and battleships, destroyers and cruisers, every vessel humanity had spent 2 decades building. And they came ready for war. The Vrek swarm had never encountered humans before. They learned quickly. Human fighters, piloted by men and women who had heard the story of the perseverance since childhood, tore into the Vrek's formations with suicidal courage. Human Marines, dropped onto the surface of Kelrath Prime, fought beside their alien allies with a ferocity that shocked both sides. Human engineers worked 30-hour shifts repairing Kelrath defense systems, teaching them new technologies, sharing everything Earth had learned about warfare. The Battle of Kelrath Prime lasted 17 days. When it was over, the Vreks had been driven back beyond the system's edge, their swarm broken and scattered. Captain Thekna, now an elderly Kelrath with faded chitin plates, stood beside Admiral Rodriguez, daughter of the woman he'd saved so long ago, on the bridge of the human flagship. Below them, Kelrath Prime shone blue and green, scarred but alive. Your people lost ships, Thekna said quietly. Lost lives. For us. Admiral Rodriguez looked at him with her mother's eyes. You gave us our lives when you had no reason to. We had every reason to give you yours. She smiled. We pay our debts, Captain Thekna. Always. That's the human way. Thekna's mandibles moved in complex patterns. The translator rendered it simply. Humans are terrifying friends to have. Rodriguez's smile widened. Yes, but we're very good friends to have. Across the galaxy, other species watched the recordings of the battle. They saw humanity pour everything into saving a people who had once saved them. They saw the fury with which humans defended their allies. They saw the lengths to which humanity would go to repay a kindness. The message was clear. Help humanity, and you gain the most loyal friend in the galaxy. Harm humanity's friends, and you face the most terrifying enemy you could imagine. Mankind never forgets a favor, and their payback can shake worlds.